Marcus Webb counted them, a reflex from 6 years of finding patterns where other people saw chaos. His daughter's hand tightened around his fingers. She was 9. She'd learned to read rooms the way he read code. The woman who'd been holding the glass looked at Marcus like he was furniture that had been placed incorrectly. Her name tag said Eleanor Vance. Her expression said something else entirely. "Sorry," she said to someone who wasn't him. "Can someone?" But Marcus was already walking away, his daughter's shoes clicking softly against marble that had traveled further than most people ever would. "We're leaving?" Zoe asked. "Not yet." The elevator doors opened. They stepped inside. Marcus pressed the button for the 3rd floor, where the private conference rooms were, where Martin Cross was waiting, supposedly, for a meeting that had taken 3 weeks to arrange. Zoe watched the numbers climb. "They think you work here," she said. It wasn't a question. Marcus looked down at his daughter. She'd inherited her mother's face, the exact structure of it, like DNA had worked from a photograph. The same serious mouth, the same way of seeing things other people missed. "Yeah," he said. "Because we came in the wrong door. That's part of it. What's the other part?" The elevator chimed. "3rd floor." "Doesn't matter," Marcus said. But Zoe was 9, and 9-year-olds don't accept non-answers from parents who've never lied to them. "It's because we're black," she said. Marcus stopped walking. They were alone in a hallway that smelled like furniture polish and money. Brass fixtures, thick carpet that absorbed sound like snow. He crouched down, eye level with his daughter. "Listen to me," he said. "What people assume about us, that's their problem. Our problem is simpler. We have a meeting in 4 minutes with someone who can change what we're building. That's all that matters right now. You understand?" Zoe nodded. She didn't understand, but she trusted him. That was enough. Marcus stood and took her hand again. They walked down the hallway together, past doors marked with numbers and company names he didn't recognize. The building was called the Peninsula Tower, and it housed the kind of wealth that most people only read about. Hedge funds, private equity firms, venture capital groups that decided which startups lived and which ones died. Web Security Solutions wasn't a startup anymore. Marcus had been running it for 6 years, ever since Zoe was 3 and her mother had just died, and the world had felt like it was ending. He'd started the company in their apartment, him and a laptop, and a gift for seeing patterns in code that other people missed. Now they had an office in Oakland. 14 employees, contracts with companies that paid real money for real protection, but it wasn't enough. Not yet. Not to scale the way Marcus knew they could. That's where Martin Cross came in. Cross ran a fund called Meridian Capital, $2 billion under management. A reputation for turning mid-sized companies into industry leaders. His team had reached out 3 weeks ago, interested in web security solutions after Marcus had stopped a major breach at Harman Industries. The breach had made news. $15 million in potential damages, prevented by a 12-person team working around the clock for 72 hours straight. Marcus had led the effort personally, sleeping 4 hours total across 3 days, living on coffee and the knowledge that if they failed, his company's reputation would die with it. They hadn't failed, and now Martin Cross wanted to meet. Conference room 3 had a door made of frosted glass. Through it, Marcus could see shapes. 3 people, 1 standing, 2 seated. He knocked twice. "Yes." The voice came through muffled but impatient. Marcus opened the door. Martin Cross was exactly what his Forbes profile had suggested. Mid-60s, the kind of thin that comes from intentional discipline, wearing a watch that cost more than Marcus's first car. The 2 men with him were younger, analysts probably. Their posture said they were important. Their eyes said they knew they weren't. Cross looked at Marcus, then at Zoe, then back at Marcus. "You're Marcus Webb," he said. Not a question, a confirmation, like he was verifying a photograph. "I am. You brought your daughter to a pitch meeting. My childcare fell through 3 hours ago. I can reschedule if sit." Cross gestured to 2 chairs across from him. Marcus hesitated. Not because he was intimidated, because he was calculating. This man had asked to meet him, not the other way around. Cross's fund had reached out first, interested in web security solutions, the company Marcus had built from nothing while raising Zoe alone. That meant leverage. Small leverage, but real. Marcus sat. Zoe sat beside him, hands folded in her lap the way he'd taught her. She'd been to important meetings before. She knew how to be still, how to be quiet, how to make herself small when adults needed space to talk about things that would affect both their lives. Cross opened a folder. Inside were papers, printouts, Marcus noticed, not digital files. Old school. The kind of man who trusted paper more than screens. Your company stopped a breach at Harmon Industries last year, Cross said. Saved them approximately $15 million in potential damages. You did this with a team of 14 people. 12 at the time, Marcus said. We've grown. Your annual revenue is $8.2 million. 8.6 as of last quarter. One of the analysts made a note. The other was staring at his phone, only half present. Cross leaned back in his chair. The leather creaked softly. You went to Memphis State. I did. Why not MIT? Stanford? With your test scores. Memphis State gave me a full scholarship, Marcus said. The others offered partial. I had a daughter on the way and no family money. Cross nodded slowly. The gesture meant nothing. Could have meant agreement or dismissal or simple acknowledgement that Marcus had spoken. Here's what I see, Cross said. Potential. Genuine technical skill. But no infrastructure. No brand presence. And frankly, no credentials that would make enterprise clients comfortable writing seven-figure checks. Marcus said nothing. If we invest, Cross continued, we'd need structural changes. Bring in a CTO with pedigree. Someone from a top-tier program who can interface with Fortune 500 executives. You'd focus on the technical work. Let someone else handle the client relationships. Zoe's hand moved slightly. Not toward Marcus. Just a small shift of fingers. Marcus recognized it. The same motion she'd made at her mother's funeral when the pastor had said things about God's plan that didn't make sense to either of them. That's not how we operate, Marcus said quietly. Then that's a problem, Cross replied. Because the market doesn't care how you operate. It cares about perception. And right now, your perception problem is significant. One of the analysts, the younger one, with a tie that probably cost $400, leaned forward. No offense, he said, but when clients are choosing between you and a firm run by MIT graduates, what's your competitive advantage? Marcus looked at him. Really looked. The analyst was maybe 30. Expensive haircut. Confident in the way people are when they've never been truly tested. I'm better, Marcus said. The analyst smiled. Not kindly. Everyone thinks they're better, he said. I don't think it, Marcus said. I can prove it. Cross's expression shifted slightly. Interest, maybe. Or irritation at having his meeting derailed. How? Cross asked. Marcus pulled out his phone, unlocked it, opened a document, and placed the phone face up on the table. Your fund's internal network, he said. The one you pay. What's the number? $7 million annually to secure. Cross frowned. What about it? It has a vulnerability in the authentication protocol. Legacy code from a 2019 upgrade that was never fully patched. Someone with intermediate skills could access your client database, portfolio holdings, internal communications. Everything. The room went still. Not silent. Still. Like the air had changed pressure. That's impossible, the analyst said. Marcus tapped his phone screen. This is a list of your active clients. 237 names. I pulled it 90 minutes ago while waiting in your lobby. Cross's hand moved toward the phone, then stopped. You hacked us. I identified a vulnerability, Marcus corrected. Legally, the same way any penetration tester would. I didn't access anything beyond the client list. Didn't download files, didn't read emails, didn't touch financial data. But someone else could have. Someone with different intentions. Cross picked up the phone, looked at the screen. His jaw tightened. Jesus Christ, he said quietly. The analysts were both pale now. The one who'd been on his phone had set it down. Full attention now. How long have we been exposed? Cross asked. 14 months, Marcus said. Since your last major security audit, which, if I'm reading the metadata correctly, was conducted by Veridian Systems. They charged you $2.3 million and missed this completely. Cross set the phone down carefully, like it might break. Why are you telling me this? He asked. Because you asked what my competitive advantage is, Marcus said. It's this. I see what other people miss. Not because I went to the right school. Because I've spent 6 years doing this work alone, with no safety net, knowing that one mistake would mean my daughter and I lose everything. That kind of pressure makes you very, very careful. He stood up. Zoe stood with him. I'll send you the patch tonight, Marcus said. Free of charge. Consider it a professional courtesy. Wait, Cross said. Marcus stopped. What would it cost to hire you? Cross asked. Properly. Not as a contractor. As a partner. Marcus looked at him. Cross's face had changed. The dismissiveness was gone. In its place was something Marcus recognized from his own mirror. The expression of someone who just realized they'd miscalculated badly. $5 million, Marcus said. For 20% equity. I keep operational control. You provide capital and introductions. We scale together. That's aggressive. That's fair. Cross glanced at his analysts. Some silent communication passed between them. Eyebrows raised. Small nods. I need to think about it, Cross said. You have until Monday, Marcus replied. After that, I'm in conversations with 2 other funds. This was not true, but Cross didn't know that. Monday, Cross repeated. Marcus nodded once, but he didn't leave immediately. Instead, he walked to the window. The conference room overlooked the city, buildings stacked against each other like arguments, fog moving between them like doubt. San Francisco in the evening, lights beginning to flicker on, the day transitioning into something else. Can I tell you something? Marcus said, still looking out. Cross waited. 6 years ago, Marcus continued, my wife died in an emergency room. Complications from what should have been routine surgery. She waited 3 hours to be seen. The nurse who triaged her made assumptions based on how we looked, how we talked, what insurance card we handed over. He turned back to face Cross. She was a paralegal. Brilliant. Could have been a lawyer if law school didn't cost what it costs. She believed in systems. Believed that if you followed the rules, worked hard, did everything right, the system would protect you. Zoe was watching her father now, very still. They'd never talked about this directly. She knew her mother had died. But Marcus had kept the details from her, thinking he was protecting her. Maybe he'd been wrong. She was wrong, Marcus said. The system didn't protect her. It killed her, because someone made an assumption in 5 seconds that she wasn't worth immediate attention. Cross's face had changed. Something in it had softened, or maybe just opened. I'm sorry, he said, and it sounded genuine. I'm not telling you this for sympathy, Marcus said. I'm telling you because every day since then, I've had to make a choice. I can be angry at the system, or I can be better than it. I can't do both. Anger takes too much energy, and I need that energy for her. He gestured toward Zoe. So when you talk about perception problems, Marcus continued, I understand what you mean. I know clients will look at me and make assumptions. Same assumptions that nurse made about my wife. But here's what I've learned. Those assumptions are their liability, not mine. Because while they're assuming, I'm working. While they're judging, I'm solving. And eventually, the work speaks louder than the assumptions. He walked back to the table. You want to invest in my company because the numbers are good, Marcus said. That's fine. But the numbers are good because I don't have the luxury of being mediocre. I don't have family money to fall back on. I don't have a network from prep school. I have my daughter, my laptop, and the absolute certainty that if I fail, there's no one coming to catch us. He picked up his phone from the table. That's not a pitch, he said. That's just the truth. You can invest or not. Either way, we'll be fine. We've been fine this long. Cross stood up then, extended his hand across the table. Monday, he said. Let's make this happen. Marcus shook his hand. Firm grip. Brief. Professional. Monday, he agreed. The analyst stood too. The younger one, the one who'd questioned Marcus's competitive advantage, looked uncomfortable now, like he wanted to apologize but didn't know how. Marcus didn't need his apology. They left the conference room and walked back to the elevator. This time, when they passed through the lobby, Marcus noticed something different. A few people glanced at them, not with assumption or dismissal, but with something closer to curiosity. Maybe they'd heard about the meeting. Maybe word traveled fast in these circles. Or maybe Marcus was just walking differently now, shoulders back, purpose evident. The elevator doors opened. They stepped inside. Zoe pressed the button for the ground floor. As they descended, she looked up at her father. You never told me that, she said. About Mom. About what happened. Marcus looked down at her. I thought I was protecting you, he said. From what? From being angry. Are you angry? Marcus thought about this. The elevator descended smoothly, numbers counting down. No, he said finally. I was. For a long time. But anger's expensive, baby. It costs more than I can afford to pay. The doors opened. Ground floor. They walked through the lobby together. The champagne and networking crowd had thinned slightly. People were moving toward the dining room for dinner. A string quartet was playing something classical in the corner. Outside, the fog had thickened. Marcus unlocked the car, a 2019 Honda Accord with a scratch on the passenger door from when Zoe had misjudged the garage wall with her bike and helped her into the back seat. She buckled herself in, independent now, growing up faster than Marcus wanted her to. He closed her door and walked around to the driver's side. Got in, started the engine. The drive home took 40 minutes. Traffic was moderate. Marcus stayed in the right lane, letting faster cars pass. He'd learned a long time ago that getting somewhere fast mattered less than getting there intact. Zoe fell asleep somewhere around Daly City, her head against the window, breath fogging the glass in small circles. Marcus watched her in the rearview mirror. 9 years old. 4th grade. She liked science and hated math homework and had her mother's laugh, sudden and complete, like joy was something that couldn't be contained. When they pulled into the driveway of their rental house, a modest 3-bedroom with a yard that needed mowing and a garage that leaked when it rained, the porch light was on. Marcus had set it on a timer years ago. Coming home to a lit house made Zoe feel safer. He carried her inside, up the stairs, into her room, set her down gently on the bed. She woke up slightly as he pulled off her shoes. "Did we win?" she mumbled. "Not yet," Marcus whispered. "But we're close." "How close?" "Close enough to believe it." She smiled, a small, sleepy smile, and rolled over. Marcus pulled the blanket up to her shoulders and stood there for a moment, watching her breathe. She had her mother's sleeping face. Peaceful, unguarded, trusting the world in a way Sarah had never quite managed, even before the end. He left the door cracked open. Zoe didn't like complete darkness and went downstairs. The house was quiet. Outside, a dog barked somewhere. A car passed, headlights briefly illuminating the living room wall before moving on. Marcus made coffee and opened his laptop at the kitchen table. He pulled up the security architecture for Cross's network and began writing the patch. The vulnerability was elegant in its simplicity, a nested authentication loop that checked credentials twice but only validated once. Easy to miss if you weren't looking for it. Impossible to ignore once you saw it. He worked for 90 minutes, testing each line of code, running simulations, making sure the patch wouldn't disrupt existing operations. This was free work. He didn't have to do it. But Marcus believed in keeping his word, even to people who'd underestimated him. Especially to people who'd underestimated him. At 11:43 p.m., he sent the email with the attachment and implementation instructions. At 11:47 p.m., his phone buzzed. Unknown number. "This is Martin Cross. We're in. Send the paperwork Monday morning." And Marcus, thank you for being honest when you could have just walked away. Marcus read the message 3 times. Then he set the phone down and looked at the photograph on the refrigerator. Him, Zoe, and Sarah at Ocean Beach. Zoe was 3, covered in sand, laughing at something. Probably a seagull. She'd loved seagulls back then. Sarah's hand was on Marcus's shoulder. She was looking at the camera, but also past it, like she could see something good coming. "We're okay," Marcus said quietly to the photograph. "We're going to be okay." He stood up, poured the rest of his coffee down the sink, and turned off the kitchen light. Upstairs, Zoe was still sleeping. He checked on her one more time, an old habit from when she was a baby, and he'd wake up 3 times a night just to make sure she was breathing. The pediatrician had told him it was normal for new parents. Marcus had kept doing it anyway, even after Zoe turned 1, then 2, then 3. Even now, at 9, he still checked. She was breathing, steady and soft. She was safe. They were going to be fine. Marcus went to his own room, set his alarm for 6 a.m., and laid down in the dark. Outside, the city hummed with its usual frequency. Deals closing, dreams failing, people winning and losing in the quiet hours when no one was watching. Marcus Webb had won tonight. Not loudly, not dramatically, just completely. He'd walked into a room where people assumed he didn't belong, and he'd walked out with exactly what he came for, not by demanding respect, but by making it impossible to deny. The fog pressed against his bedroom window like something living. Somewhere in the distance, a train horn sounded, low and long and fading into the night. Marcus closed his eyes. Tomorrow, he'd wake up and make Zoe breakfast. Probably pancakes. She liked them with chocolate chips arranged in a smiley face, a tradition Sarah had started and Marcus had continued. They'd talk about her homework, her friends, the small architecture of her 9-year-old life. He'd drop her at school and go to the office and continue building the thing he'd started 6 years ago in a living room with a laptop and a newborn sleeping in a bassinet beside him. But tonight, he let himself feel it. The weight lifting, the door opening, the future becoming possible again. Not because someone had given him permission, because he'd earned it, with precision, patience, and the absolute refusal to be anything less than exactly who he was. That's how it worked. That's how it had always worked. The quiet ones didn't ask for space. They simply took it, one excellent decision at a time, one client saved, one vulnerability found, one day of showing up when it would have been easier to quit. Marcus had been showing up for 6 years. He could show up for 6 more, for 60 more, if that's what it took, because Zoe was watching, and the work wasn't finished yet.